19, right here, 19, so, hold on, I'll find it first. Anyway, U.S. National Guard soldiers are sent to a rural patrol near Governor Bridge in Maryland after reports of vandalism and animal attacks. What started as a simple mission quickly turned into a terrifying night they will never forget. Based on a real Maryland legend, this miniature horror story dives into the chilling encounter known as the Goatman of Maryland. Experience of fear and tension. Goatman been around since a long time ago. I forgot when it was, but the first sight of the Goatman was, I'm thinking about 19 something, maybe 1920, something like that. And everything. Now that, stay tuned to my channel. I will be doing a first account back in 1890. U.S. soldier in Canada, the Headless Horseman. So, buckle up, stay tuned, and let's get to the video, shall we?
But out there, fog thick, river dead quiet, something started watching us. Heavy steps, strange smell, horns catching the light. Then the metal screamed, and one of us never came back. This isn't a ghost story. It's what really happened on that bridge. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. I was a staff sergeant then, National Guard, Maryland. Late autumn 2011, leaves down to slick paper, air thick with that swamp rot you get along the Patuxent. The bridge sat low and ugly over water the color of tea with milk. Governor Bridge. Old metal bones and graffiti and a spiteful little current chewing at the pilings. We were told to babysit it. They called it a routine patrol. Show presence, the butter bar said. Reports of vandalized cars, some livestock gone to pieces. Locals calling the sheriff, sheriff calling the guard, guard calling me. That kind of phone tree. Command wanted eyes on the area, especially at night. My job was to keep the team tight, do the sweep, write the report, go home. Easy money. Team was 4. I had Corporal Jason Lynn on the radio and the log. Smart kid, steady hands. Specialist Tyler Reeves, motor pool type, always running his mouth but quick with a wrench and a joke. And Private First Class Marcus Hawthorne, Hawk for short. He grew up not far from there. Knew the woods, knew the back roads, knew the old stories too. We parked the Humvee on the shoulder near the bridge where the trees crowd in like they're trying to snuff out the headlights. The Beltsville Agricultural Research Center sprawled not far off. Signs about no trespassing and ticks and whatever disease the feds were growing in corn. It all smelled like wet leaves, swamp breath, and rust. The kind of smell that sticks to your gear. The kind of smell that stains the back of your tongue. Reeves climbed out and stretched. So, Sarge, we gonna bag us a Goatman tonight or what? Shut it, I said. We're here for vandals. Drunk kids. Maybe a bear. Take it serious. Goatman's from Fletchertown Road, right? Lynn asked, clicking the radio check. Like that old 70s Panic. Hawk pulled his hood up and watched the tree line. My dad swore he saw it, he said. Back when he was a teen. Fletchertown, yeah. Something crossed the road on 2 legs, and it didn't move like a man. Said it smelled like a barn that died. Reeves laughed. Hey, if I see a barn that died, I'm putting in for hazard pay. Knock it off, I said. We do this by the book. Walk the bridge, check the pull-offs, note anything odd. If we see a person, we de-escalate. If we see an animal, we don't chase it. We call it in. Lynn read the taster from his notebook. Reports of a pickup keyed to hell 2 nights ago. 1 minivan with busted glass. Farmer found a goat and a calf cut up near the old picnic area. County Animal Control says coyotes or loose dogs. Coyotes don't hang ornaments, Hawk said. What's that mean? Reeves asked. Hawk shrugged. Somebody strung a dog collar on a willow out there last summer. Teen crap. Kids making Goatman signs. Cops said it looked cut, not chewed. You do not help, I told them. Stick to facts. Keep the spooky crap for later. But I felt the same air he did. Felt that hush when the insect hum drops out and the night gets that heavy blanket sound. That bridge had a way of swallowing noise. Our boots on the deck, the creak of rail, the water whispering, Then quiet like a church, after the crowd leaves and you realize you're the only one breathing. We walked it. Lynn kept notes and started an evidence log because the butter bar loved paperwork. Time, location, conditions. Late, cold wet, fog moving in, light breeze from the east. Visibility 30 yards maybe. The bridge stank of metal and old piss. Somebody had sprayed Goatman lives in bubble letters near the midpoint. Over it, someone else had written, "Grow you up." Feels like a dare, Reeves said. He tapped the spray paint with his glove. Teenagers. Eyes up, I told him. Hawk scanned the tree line through his night vision. Flicker, he said. Power line somewhere? Welcome to Maryland, Lynn said. I told them about the plan. Work the bridge. Check both ends. Drop down to the shoulder. Walk the old picnic turnout. No hero moves. No solo runs. Avoid the muddy spots that can swallow boots. And if we ran into locals, we were friendly, we were brief, we were ghosts again. We did the east end first, toward the research grounds. Fence line sagging, field grass tall as a man. The smell of marsh went deep and sour the closer we got to the water. There was a stand of willow that held the light like a net. Everywhere you looked, it was gray on gray, water and sky and sweat inside your collar. Reeves started again. Hawk, what did your old man actually say? Like, did he see the horns? Or did he just see a dude in a hoodie? Hawk stayed quiet a stretch. He said it wasn't a man, he finally told us. Said it had a chest like a man and legs wrong as a dream. Said it looked at him and the eyes went back like a deer, but he saw thought in it, like an old farm animal that knows a gate latch. He never told me that part sober. Cool story, bro, Reeves said. So we're hunting a smart goat. We're not hunting anything, I said. We're making rounds. We reached the far end of the bridge. The guardrail had dents that looked like knuckles. Old. We logged it anyway. We crossed again. Halfway I stopped and took the night in. The bug sound wasn't right. Maryland nights have a hum. Cicadas, frogs, a wet choir. Here it was thin, gnats whining, then nothing. Like the river was holding its breath. That quiet made the hairs on my arms stand up under the blouse. I told myself it was just the hour, or my memory talking. That's what you do to stay sane in the dark. You stack reasons like sandbags. Then you sit on the pile and try not to watch it leak. We finished the bridge walk. I sent Lynn and Reeves to check the shoulder by the rusted pull-off where folks used to park and drink cheap beer. I took Hawk and cut along the trees on the west side, toward a narrow trail that led under the span. I could smell the mud before I saw it. Sweet sick, like something green rotting under leaves. Careful footing, I said. No hero shit. We moved slow. The mud sucked at boots. Under the bridge, the world got small. Concrete feet, cross braces like a rib cage. Somebody had painted a goat skull down there, big as a man, with stupid devil eyes. Reeves would get a picture for his collection, I knew it. The river clucked against the pillars. Something's been down here, Hawk said. He crouched, pointed his light low. Tracks. I knelt next to him. The mud held 4 crisp impressions. 2 long, 2 short. Like hooves, only spread wide, maybe split, big as my palm. Too big for deer. Too far apart for a 4-legger. And they were in a line like a man's steps. Not wandering. Purposeful. Another set crossed them, newer. Something with boots. Teenagers, probably. I told myself that twice. Log it, I called over my shoulder. Lynn came down the slope. He wrote it in that neat, square way of his. With depth, orientation. He snapped photos. He took a small spoon of the mud where the print held and bagged it in a zip. Soil sample, he said for the record. Unknown tracks. Reeves leaned on a beam and made a goat noise. I barked his name and he shut up. Then we heard the groan, low, animal. From the far side of the span where the water slowed under the deadfall. Deer, I said, or a goat from a farm. Sound carries weird in the culvert. Sounds like something stuck, Hawk said. Let's not stick with it, I told him. We knowed it. We pulled back. The night hadn't gotten colder, but I felt it like it did. The silence followed us up the bank. The truck sat where we left it. We logged the circuit, stood around long enough for Reeves to finish a granola bar. Then I told him to police his wrapper. We were done with the first pass. This was supposed to be nothing, but it wasn't nothing. It never is. when the woods go quiet and the story gets free of the people who made it. Last run, I said. Then we park and sit, eyes open. We're not here to catch a myth. We're here to catch whoever is breaking windows. Reeves grinned. Yes, Dad. Say that again. I put you on bridge guard duty till dawn, I said. He started to say something else, but his eyes had gone past me, back toward the dark under the bridge. Not scared, not a joke. His face got flat like when a machine makes a sound it shouldn't. He raised his light, swept it slow. The beam hit concrete and water spray, and then something darker just past the brace. A shape. Crouched. The beam touched it, and it slid backward, like it had been made out of the shadow itself. Movement, Reeves said, voice tight. We stared into the ribs of the bridge. The shape was gone. The water gurgled. A fish popped. None of us moved for a count of 10. Understood, I said. We mark that as noted. We do not chase shadows. Lynn wrote. Possible person under bridge. Short visual, no ID. He underlined the words. The pencil snapped anyway. We loaded up. Headlights on the rail. Engine idle humming. I set the radio to monitor. The hum of insects didn't come back. That silence rode with us. We swept the shoulder to the south. You could see the road curve and the trees lean in like they were whispering. Out there, a rusted sedan sat nose deep in leaves. Might have been 100 years old. Might have died last week. The hood carried dents. Not fist dents, not hail. Long, shallow curves like something with weight and a bad temper had stomped it. Lynn logged it as vandalism. He took photos from 3 angles. Reeves ran a fingertip over the metal and whistled. Looks like claws, he said. Like a cougar tap danced here. Cougar'd leave tracks, Hawk said. He was crouched again, eyes on the mud by the shoulder. He tapped once with his knuckle. Look, in the gummy dark soil were prints again. Not the deer slots you know by heart in Maryland, those tidy teardrops. These were wide and split. 2 toes, each with a knife point. Spaced far like a long-legged thing, walked with a deliberate kick. They crossed the shoulder and disappeared into the tall brush. The stride made no sense. It was like a runner on his toes, but heavier, digging deep with each step. Lynn didn't laugh. He measured the spacing with a boot length. 7 feet, give or take, he said. He wrote it down. He took a GPS mark with the handheld. He bagged another spoon of mud. Hoax, Reeves said, but his voice floated up like he wasn't sure. Big prank feet. Some idiot sculpted them with wood. Maybe, Hawk said. But it's heavy. Look at the depth. The woods went still again. I could hear the highway far off. A thin, socked-in hiss. Under that, the river's mutter. When the wind stirred, you'd get it in your teeth. That barn stink, and something else under it. Like ammonia. Like a cooler you forgot in July. We moved along the turnout. A trail bent down to the water. On the way, Reeves pointed at a willow branch. Something hung from it. At first it looked like a strip of cloth. It wasn't. It was a dog collar, leather gone gray, the tag ripped off, the strap cut, not chewed. There were slashes through it like someone tested a blade. The holes for the buckle were stretched like something had pulled until it snapped. Kids, Lynn said. He wrote it with the heavy hand of a man trying to nail the world to a word. Hawk's mouth was a thin line. I found a collar just like this, last year, near Fletchertown, he said. Dad made me bring it to the sheriff. Sheriff said sure, teen crap. Right up until somebody found a dog missing from that road the next week. I made the call on the radio and filed the find. The county dispatcher sounded bored and tired. We'll note it, Sergeant, she said. We've had vandalism calls tonight. A lot of them from that area. Maybe your presence will scare the kids off. We'll stay visible, I said. Under the bridge, the groan came again. It rolled through the culvert like a bad cello. Reeves clicked his light into the gap and it vanished. The light found only concrete, algae slick, and old spray paint. Enough, I said. We do a perimeter sweep tonight. We're not sticking our heads down where we can't move. I set the perimeter. Humvee parked with the nose toward the road, rear toward the bridge. That way we could move quick if we needed. We took turns walking the rail, crossing the bridge slow. Lynn kept the radio check running. He got clean handshakes with the county tower. Nothing spooky, no static, no ghost nonsense. Just our voices. That's important. You'll hear stories where the radios die and the batteries bleed and the moon goes blue. That ain't what happened. The radio worked all night. which made it all worse. Around midnight, the fog started to lift off the water in small cotton balls. You could taste it. Reeves muttered something about horror movies. Hawk told him to shut it. We did our second sweep of the picnic turnout. That's where Reeves stopped dead and said, "Okay, that is not cool." In the beam was a dog collar again. Shredded this time. Not cut neat. The leather looked worried to ribbons. It still hung from a little bit of tendon. The bone end was fresh. Flies weren't on it yet. It swung in the air and tapped the bark in a slow, stupid rhythm. "Animal kill," I said. I said it in a voice like a crowbar. Flat, final, scavenger work, coyote or stray. It's hung too high for a coyote, Hawk said. I made him step back. We don't put faces under things like that. Reeves took a picture and looked like he wanted to delete it from the world. We looped back to the truck. On the way under the bridge, Reeves stopped again. "There," he said. "Right there." He pointed under the ribs where the dark went sullen and old. For a breath, I saw a shape again. Low, hunched. A tangle of shadow that looked like shoulders. Then the beam hit it straight and it sluiced away like it had been nothing but the thickest dark. The sound it made was not animal. It was heavy fabric dragged across concrete. "That's the best I can do." "Shape," Lynn said for the log, while we stood there holding our breath. "No ID. Light caused disappearance." He didn't write vanished. He was too stubborn for that word. Back at the truck, I told them the plan for the night. We'd hold until 2 or 3, do a last sweep, call it in, rotate out. Reeves popped the back and climbed in. The fog wrapped the bridge like white bandages. The hum of the insects should have come back by then. It didn't. That quiet got so loud you felt it in your gums. We waited in it. We were soldiers. Waiting is what we do. The drizzle came in light, the kind that chalks your sleeves and runs down past your collar. Fog thickened toward the river like it loved the water more than us. Around 1 in the morning, a car alarm cut the quiet. Not close. Far down the road by the old picnic turnout. "Move," I said. We rolled the Humvee slow, lights low, tires whispering. Lynn kept the radio check with dispatch just to make sure the air stayed honest. It did. His voice came back clean. I could hear the calm in it. We reached the turnout and the alarm blared like it was dying. A silver sedan sat crooked with one wheel up on a stump. The roof was crushed in like something had dropped on it from a height. Front to back, just off center. Not a tree. No limbs on the ground. No storm damage. A clean impression like a knee the size of God had knelt there. "Damn," Reeves said. "That ain't teens." We circled it. Lynn snapped photos, hands steady. We didn't touch the metal. Hawk sniffed. "You smell that?" he asked. I caught it then. Not swamp. Not exhaust. A hard hit of something like ammonia and rotten meat. Not skunk. Not trash. A smell that rides high in your nose and makes your eyes water. Behind it, the sour wool stink of wet animal. "Bag your nose," I told them. We pulled our neck gaiters up. It didn't help, Lynn pointed. "Hair," he said. Where the roof bowed, gray hair stuck to scuffed paint. Not dog, not deer. Coarse, long, kinked like old beard trimmings. He tweezed a few into a bag and labeled it with neat block letters. "Dispatch, this is Guard 4 Alpha," I called on the radio. "We've got a vehicle damaged. Roof crushed. Strong odor. Found hair samples. Request law and animal control notification." "Copy, 4 Alpha," the dispatcher said. "Be advised, animal control responded earlier to 2 dog mutilations near your location this evening. Unknown canine predator suspected. Use caution." Reeves swallowed. Great timing. We photographed the ground. The prints were there again, crossing the muddy edge, stomping deep, walking like a man but wrong. 2 pointed toes. Wide. Spacing long, like it took big strides without hurrying. Hawk set his boot in one, to compare, and it swallowed the whole sole with room to spare. We pulled back. The alarm had stopped. The fog muffled everything. For a minute, the woods felt like a mouth about to close. "I hate this," Reeves said, soft. "File your hate," I told him. "We log, we leave." We started to move back to the bridge. That's when we heard it. Not a groan. Not a growl. Heavy movement. Like a couch dragged through brush. Thick, slow, deliberate. Not deer. Deer spook and spark away. This was weight-cracking little limbs with a patient rhythm. Eyes, I said. The light swept the tree line. The fog held the light and made the trees look painted on glass. Nothing moved. The sound kept going, behind the trunk screen. Then it stopped, just stopped. Len said, radio still clear, like he needed to hear it. Okay, I said. We're not chasing that. Back to the bridge. We got into the Humvee. The smell followed us for 100 yards and then peeled off. I swear that's how it felt. Like smell has angles you can turn. At the bridge we parked as before. The water muttered. The rail sweated. My neck prickled like I needed a haircut. We ate in silence. MRE heaters steaming like little chimneys. Reeves didn't joke. Hawk watched the tree line without blinking. Lynn checked the battery in his flashlight twice. First disturbance logged, Lynn said into the recorder. Vehicle alarm. Roof damage. Hair sample. Strong odor. Heavy movement heard in adjacent woods. No visual. All of it was real. None of it was a ghost story. That's what made it bad. Morning came slow and mean. A flat gray pressed against the water. The kind of dawn that never quite admits the sun. We brewed coffee on the tailgate. It tasted like smoke and aluminum. The smell of the night still felt hung in the trees. The insects came back in thin pulses, like a generator coughing to life. The relief I felt at hearing a stupid gnat could have lifted a truck. We did the follow-up patrol. Daylight makes the world honest. Or you think it does. We started on the west end and picked up prints right away. The pointed toes showed clear in the damp sand. Hawk measured the distance again. Long stride, bare. Not hooved like a farm goat, not cloven like a deer, but split in a way that made my head ache trying to label it. Looks like digitigrade, Lynn said. He meant the on-the-toes thing, like a dog, but bipedal. Reeves made a face. Say English, bro. Walking on toes, Lynn said. He filmed it with his phone. He spoke slow, like he was talking to his future self. He called out GPS coordinates, each one precise, each one a nail he could hammer into a map. He bagged more soil. I held the bags, watched for movement, breathed through my teeth to keep the stink out. The prints led up the shoulder. They turned onto the bridge. That's what made my gut knot. They went straight to the middle. Clear as a story. Big toe points, edges squared off, mud pressed into the cracked deck boards. Where the boards were worn slick, the prints were water, not mud. But the pattern held. Like an animal that learned a floor plan. We moved slow across the bridge, eyes up, eyes down. Hawk pointed at the rail where the metal had a soft buckle. Not from a car. From something leaning, something pushing with a shoulder and a hip. He made a fist and mimed it. The dent looked like the world's angriest parent had thrown a tantrum. Log the rail damage, I said. Dusk came early because that sky hated us. We found the deer just before the light gave up. It hung from a low branch by its hind legs. The belly was open. The guts were emptied into a neat pile like laundry. It did not look like coyotes. Coyotes scatter. This was tidy. This looked like someone who knew a deer and hated it. The meat showed claw marks, not clean knife work, but the legs had been tied up with vines. That part I will never pretend I understand. The smell lifted off it and smacked you around. That same ammonia bite with a barn sour base. The flies were having church. When the wind shifted, the stink got into the car paint and held. Reeves gagged and walked a few steps away. Lynn filmed it. He adjusted the focus like a man in a lab. He spoke around the stench. Deer carcass, hung from branch. Abdomen opened. Entrails removed and placed below. Vine bindings on hind legs. Evidence of claw scoring. Photographs taken. Coordinates logged. His voice shook only once. I called it in. I asked for a game warden. The dispatcher sounded like a woman who had been told to stop saying no, but also to never say yes. She said there was a jurisdiction issue between county, state, and the research property. She said the warden on call was on a different incident near Upper Marlboro. She said to maintain a safe posture and wait for guidance. Guidance is, we're still here, I said. And we have a deer strung up like a porch decoration. Copy, 4 Alpha, she said. Please hold. We held. No one came. That's how it goes on a Sunday with paperwork between you and a guy with the right badge. We cut the deer down. Don't ask me why. Some decisions are about being human. We lowered it slow, set it on the ground, covered it with a tarp from the truck. Reeves said a dumb little prayer I pretended not to hear. Hawk looked at me with that voice he didn't use much and said, "This ain't kids, Sarge." "I know," I said. "We made the call." We were staying overnight by the bridge. We didn't have a green light to run a hunt. We weren't going to. We were going to sit with this bad thing and wait for daylight to do what daylight does best, which is lie to you long enough to make you functional. I set the schedule. 2 on, 2 off, 90-minute rotations. No one leaves the vehicle alone. 1 on the wheel. 1 out. Flashlight and rifle ready. Radio checks every 15 minutes. Lynn wrote it all down, because that's what kept us from becoming 4 idiots in a truck in the woods chasing a campfire story. We waited for night again. I didn't want it, but it came like it always does, with or without your permission. Midnight does things to a place, strips the corners off it, makes every sound the wrong size. We were parked nose to the road, rear toward the bridge, just like before. Floodlights set to wash the rail and the first trees. The light turned the fog to a curtain, and we were actors in a play no one wanted to watch. Reeves had to piss. He cracked the door, muttered an apology like a kid sneaking out of class, and stepped around the open back. I told him to stay close. He laughed under his breath. "I'm not marrying the trees, Sarge." 2 steps from the bumper, we heard him unzip. We heard the water hit gravel. We heard him exhale like a man. Then we heard metal scream. Not a car. Not brakes. The cry of stressed steel when something pushes past what it was built for. The guardrail sang like a bad violin. A sharp, bending note. Reeves yelped. His flashlight flickered like a dying bug and then steadied. That flicker held my heart in its teeth for a beat. "Move," I said. Hawk and I went left. Lynn came out the other side, radio still in his hand. The floodlight cut across the rail and found a silhouette. It stood taller than me by a head and then some. Shoulders heavy under matted fur. Horns like a pair of half moons made of dark old bone. They caught the light and did a dull little shine. The torso looked like a man under a coat he never took off. The legs were all wrong. Backward bends, thick in the thigh, lean below, feet split into 2 points that bit the deck. It turned its head. Slow, eyes shine like a deer caught in a field. But not round. Slid it across like the night turned them into knives. I don't know. That part's a blur even now. But I remember how it set its weight. Like it was about to sprint. Like it had done this forever. "Hey," Reeves barked. The dumbest word in the world at the worst time. The thing came forward, not bounding, not galloping. It was a low drive, like a lineman pushing a sled. It covered the space between rail and bumper in blinks. It hit the Humvee door with its shoulder, and the steel folded like it had opinions, and they were all wrong. The truck rocked. The floodlight trembled across the trees. We shouted. We didn't say words like men in movies. We said noises with syllables. My rifle came up and there was no magic in it. There was training, safety off, front sight, don't squeeze too fast, don't miss the world. I fired first, then Hawk, then Reeves, finally behind the bumper with his pants half up. We weren't burning a magazine, controlled. 2 then paused to breathe. The noise snapped around the bridge and came back like a slap. The thing jerked when rounds hit, not like a deer that collapses, like a boxer taking a jab. It knew the pain. It peeled back from the door, put both hands, yes, hands on the rail, and vaulted it clean. Heavy as it was, it moved with a sick grace. It hit the embankment in a tumble and vanished into brush that swallowed light like cotton. Silence again. It was worse. The sucked out after the blast quiet. My ears buzzed. The floodlight hummed. Reeves breathed like a man who had run from a burning house. Radio check, I said. Clear, Lynn said, voice thin. I walked my light along the dented door. A smear of dark tracked and a curl from where the thing's shoulder hit. Not paint. Not oil. Blood. Thick. Too dark. Too dark. Smelled wrong. Copper and barn and that ammonia that makes your head ring. I touched it with the tip of my glove, not because I wanted to, but because the book says you do. It dragged like syrup. Strings hung and broke. We bagged the glove after. Dispatch, 4 Alpha, I said into the radio. We've had contact with an unknown large animal. Aggressive. Shots fired in self-defense. No human injuries. Vehicle damaged. We have blood on the vehicle. 4 Alpha copy, the dispatcher said, voice sharp now. Awake. Hold position. Units are tied up, but will coordinate with state. Maintain safety. Daylight response. I almost said don't make us sit in it. The words sat behind my teeth like a coin. I swallowed them. Orders are orders even when they feel like putting your hand in the trap again to prove you got fingers. We pulled the spare light out of the trunk. Reeves taped it to the bumper. Lynn filmed the blood smear and the dent. He did not zoom in on the horn scratch along the rail. He didn't need to. We didn't talk much. I told them it was an animal, something big. A freak deer twisted by something and on 2 feet by panic and pain. A bear with mange. A feral guy wearing a coat of skins. I said all the reasons. I stacked them up like sandbags. Then I looked at that split print in the mud and the way the door had folded and knew none of my sandbags would mean anything if it came back. We sat in the stink and waited for the night to finish us or let us get to dawn. No one slept. We tried. The rotation turned, and we closed eyes behind the wheel, or leaned against the pack and pretended to dream. But your body knows what the dark is doing when it's doing it. It holds you by the ribs and says, don't you dare. The wind started to climb toward 2 in the morning. It ran along the bridge and made a low note under the structure like a jug band. Every so often, the sound of wood cracking ran through the trees. Not little limbs. Fat snaps that made you picture a forearm breaking. That sound went far in the fog. It got lost and then came back like an echo from another world. Tree fall, Lynn said. It was a sentence he was telling the notebook, but it was also a sentence he needed to hear. Reeves wanted out. Sarge, he said 12 times. Sarge, we gotta bounce. This is stupid. No one's making us sit here if the state isn't even coming till daylight. We got hold orders, I said. It's a bridge. We hold bridges. That's what we do. Right now we're bait, he said. He wasn't wrong, but he wasn't right in a way that mattered. You do your job. That's the only way the world holds together when it's trying to come apart. Around 0300, the fog shifted. I don't have better words. It went from heavy to heaviest. You could see 10 yards and a bright halo, and then you hit a wall. The floodlight got smaller and all that milk. That's when it started to circle us. Not steps you could call out, not footsteps you could count. Movement, a change in the shade, the sense of weight shaping the fog. I saw it first off the back corner of the truck, where the beam touched the tree line and came back spooked. A shadow cut through the brush. Big, lower than a man would be. It stayed just past where the floodlight reached, a meter beyond the edge of safety, and it walked with us when we swung the beam. Lynn pulled his phone out and filmed while he held the flashlight in the other hand. The image on the screen showed a waver of darker inside the white. The posture was wrong in a way that made your bones itch. Arms long, held out from the body like it was easy for them, not like a man aping an ape. You could see the backward bend in the legs when it turned slightly. At the edge of the frame, a horn tip nicked the light and flickered. He kept filming. The footage would be garbage. You know those videos. The ones you watch and cuss at because nothing's ever sharp. He knew it too. He filmed anyway because it was the only thing that made sense. If the camera saw it, we weren't crazy. We were witnesses with a tool. Then the truck jumped. A hit from the back, not straight on. A testing tap, like a bully shoulder checking. Reeves swore and popped up to his knees, rifle ready. Another hit, stronger. The bumper shivered. The metal clanged like a bell. Left, left, I shouted. We pivoted, guns up, lights trying to punch through that stew. Nothing. The fog went thick and coy. Another hit, from the other side this time. It was moving fast, not random. If a bear does it, a bear smashes and keeps coming. This was like playing with a locked door. 2 taps, then quiet, then 2 taps again, then a scrape along the quarter panel, like nails tasting paint. Reeves snapped. I'm done, he said, and let a burst go into the fog. Hold fire, I snapped, voice from a place I didn't have to find. He froze. The echo rolled off slow as tar. 4 Alpha, Lynn said into the radio, every word clean. Unidentified large animal circling. Testing vehicle. We are holding in place, requesting guidance. Hold until daylight, dispatch said, like it had been 100 years since the last thing she said. We have state troopers queued for sunrise. Copy, I said. I didn't say the thing out loud, that the sun had better show. Around then, the tires popped, not all at once. One, then another. The first one hissed, and the truck sagged, and we were no longer just holding. We were stuck. You can run on rims in a pinch, but not on a bridge this old, without tearing the rail off or bouncing into the river. We weren't moving till dawn, full stop. We sat in the hollow the truck made, a kind of little island. The thing moved again, tight to the rear, close enough that you could feel vibration through sheet metal. It banged twice, light, like it just wanted to hear the song. Then it walked away. Not far, enough to breathe. That was the longest hour of my life. Not a firefight. Not a convoy blown to hell. Just 4 dudes in a truck pumping fog with their lungs and praying the bad story didn't get ambitious. Before dawn, it vanished. Simple as that. The fog thinned and the trees came back into being. Bird sound switched on like someone hit a button. The hum of the world returned and sounded too loud, like a neighbor your brain had forgotten. I looked at my team. Pale faces. Big eyes. No jokes left in Reeves. No notes left in Lynn. Hawk looked toward the east as if he could pull the sun faster with his stare. Light's coming, I said. We're not done. We finished the mission. We gather proof. We do one more sweep. Then we get out of here with something to show for the stupid. No one argued. That scared me worse than the night. By morning, mist hung over the water like milk in a glass. The bridge deck stayed slick and dark. Our tires were dead. We radioed the situation, got told to sit tight for tow support and a handoff at first light. I told them we were going to do one last check on foot. We were going to get prints, get blood, get something that made sense in a folder. We stepped out, boots slow on the wet boards. The rail glittered with dew and old spray paint. The smear of blood on the door had dried to a scab lake. The stink hung on the deck like it had paid rent. We walked 2 by 2 with me and Hawk up front, Lynn behind us with the camera, Reeves covering rear. We didn't say much. Our breath showed in little ghost puffs. The river made a peace sound I did not believe. Halfway across, Reeves said, "Movement below." We stopped. The angle under that bridge is strange. The supports make little rooms out of concrete and shadow. If you look hard enough, you see your own reflection bending and you think it's something else. But this wasn't a trick. A shape worked its way up through the cross lattice, not climbing like a man hooks arms and pulls, but like something that belongs in trees. It used those long arms first, forearms thick under a mat of fur. The legs came up after, bent wrong and efficient. It was quiet. That's what hit me. It was moving hundreds of pounds through steel and wood, and it made as much noise as a cat. "On me," I said. Lynn raised his phone instinctively and then lowered it because the rifle felt better than a screen. It came up to the deck level and paused, hands on the beam like a worker catching a breath. The eyes caught the daylight and glowed the color of old beer and shade. The horns had scratches along their backs where they'd scraped metal. The face was not a goat's face. Don't listen to anyone who tells you it was. It was something between a long-jawed man and a goat and a dog, and it hated us for making it share the world. "Back up," I said to Reeves without turning. He fired. 3 quick. The shots hit shoulder and chest and cheek. It turned toward him like it knew who had painted it with pain. It hauled itself onto the deck in one clean move and charged. I fired center mass. Hawk did the same. Lynn jammed and cussed and slapped the bad magazine like it owed him money. The thing ate lead like a stubborn door eats keys. It didn't stop. It angled past me the last second and hit Hawk with a sidelong hip. Hawk went into the rail chest first. The top rail caught him under the armpits, and he pinwheeled like a sack. I got a hand on his sleeve. For half a second it held. Then the wet cloth slipped and the weight took him. He flipped over and vanished into white. "Jesus," Reeves said, already moving to the rail. I cooked 2 more shots into the thing's flank and saw it flinch. It stumbled and dragged one leg like maybe we had hit something that mattered. It made a sound like a hog and a man both, a pissed-off low trumpet noise that scared me more than any roar on a TV. Then it went for the far rail, took it like a hurdle, and hit brush on the far side. It vanished into trees with that same sick cat grace. Gone. like it had been born from the woods and dissolved back into them. We ran to the rail and looked down. The river wasn't deep there, but it was cold. Mist made the surface go flat and tricky. I saw a break in the white and a flurry of eddies that had to be Hawk. We shouted his name. Got nothing back but the slap of water on concrete. Rope, I snapped. We didn't have rope. We had the strap for the tow, fat and useless for throwing. I sent Lynn running to the truck to dig anything, everything. Reeves tore his blouse off and tossed it like it mattered. It didn't. The river tucked the blouse in its pocket and forgot it. We moved down the embankment. It was slick and treacherous, and we were all on half-sleep and nerves. We slid and cut our palms and knees on root and shale and didn't care. We reached the bank. The water there went from knee to chest in 3 steps. I stepped in and my breath left me like a bird. I edged out anyway, feeling with my boots for rocks. Reeves held the strap like a seatbelt and kept me tethered. Lynn scanned and kept shouting Hawk's name on a loop, because sometimes you need noise to fill the part inside you that is breaking. We didn't find him. We found a glove. We found a cap he had stuffed into his pocket and must have lost on impact. We found a tangle of vines snagged on a stump with hair in it that wasn't any of ours. Gray, coarse. Too long. We bagged what we could with hands that shook. An hour later, the tow finally rolled up with a county car and 2 state troopers who looked like they had been sent to deal with a deer and got sent into a war. I gave the short version because my mouth didn't want to move. I gave the long version after, because that's what you do. You put words around a thing so you can carry it. We kept looking. Dive team wouldn't get there till later. Helicopter did a slow, dumb pass that made the trees look tired. I stood on the rail and watched the mist and felt like I had forgotten how to count. It was late morning by then, and the sun pretended to exist behind the overcast. All it did was make the white brighter. Hawk didn't come up. We dragged. We sent a line down. We prayed even if we didn't believe. We got nothing. Command showed up 2 hours after that with a senior and some clipboard men. They wore faces like funerals. They asked about rounds fired, about backstops, about permission and procedure. I told them what mattered and what didn't. They looked at the dent in the door. They looked at the blood smear on the metal and the hair bagged in neat little evidence sleeves. They looked over the rail and didn't look back at me for a long time. They quarantined the area for the afternoon, yellow tape like a joke. They told the locals who crept up to stare that it was a wildlife incident, nothing to see. The locals nodded and didn't believe any of it. I didn't either. The official read like any official. Dry. Square. Words chosen to fit boxes. On the night of late autumn 2011, Guard Patrol 4 Alpha, comprised of Staff Sergeant Aaron Delgado, Corporal Jason Lynn, Specialist Tyler Reeves, and Private First Class Marcus Hawthorne, conducted a routine security patrol in the vicinity of Governor Bridge, near Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, Maryland. Patrol responded to reports of vehicle vandalism and livestock predation. During the patrol, the unit observed and documented the following: unexplained vehicle damage consistent with high-energy impact, unusual two-toed impressions, bipedal gait, approximately 7 feet stride, strong ammoniacal odor, presence of coarse gray hair adhered to vehicle paint and clinging to vegetation, deer carcass suspended from a branch with viscera, removed and placed below, and other signs of disturbance. At approximately 0000 hours, Patrol observed a large, unidentified animal silhouette near the guardrail. Animal exhibited aggressive behavior, impacting the Humvee and causing significant denting of the door. In self-defense, personnel discharged service weapons. The animal retreated into the woods. Blood was recovered on the vehicle exterior. Between the hours of 0200 and 0400, Patrol experienced continued presence of the animal at the perimeter of illumination. The animal appeared to deliberately test the vehicle's structural integrity, resulting in multiple tire punctures. Radio communications remained clear throughout. At civil twilight, Patrol dismounted to collect additional evidence. While on the bridge structure, the animal reappeared and charged. In the ensuing engagement, Private First Class Hawthorne was forced over the guardrail and fell into the river below. Subsequent search efforts were initiated. Hawthorne remains missing. 1 non-fatal injury to vehicle crew reported. No civilian injuries observed. Samples submitted to analysis returned inconclusive mammalian. Investigation sealed as wildlife incident. Jurisdictional overlap noted between county, state, and federal properties. Further action, area signage advising of aggressive wildlife, periodic patrols, and coordination with game authorities. That was the paper. It tells nothing.